All right, so a little bit of a different meeting today. Chris is down in Milwaukee. Got invited to go talk with United Healthcare. Yeah. So she's down there right now talking with United Healthcare about their individual policies that they're now offering in multiple states. I've seen them pop up in different states, but especially we're in Wisconsin. Um, just got 5 inches of snow this morning. Um, and so kind of talking with them about their HMOs compared to everything else that we have. And so she didn't want to miss one of the classes. So today, what we've got from our assistants is a little bit of somewhat where we came from and a little bit of how next step now we've advanced to the level that we have. Um, a lot of Medicare. I don't know those numbers right off the bat, but it's really kind of cool how they set this whole thing up. To kind of give you a little bit of a background on where we came from and how we were able to get thousands of clients. So with me, I guess I'll start everything off. Um, I did restaurants for many years. Ran restaurants, bartended, served, did all those fun little things, and then you get a little bit older and families start, and so some of that I had to make a change. Part of that just hours and running restaurants is a lot of fun, but doesn't lead to being good parent, good husband kind of thing, just late hours and everything else. Um, and then trying to kind of fight a little bit of my own battles with not wanting to come work for my older sister. And yeah, in our 20s and 30s, it probably wouldn't have gone very well. But when I'm 46, she's 50. So, everything works a lot better now. We're adults. Um, and I was kind of fighting be a little bit, didn't want to join the family business necessarily. This whole thing was started very much by my mom and her other partner, Paulette. And then Chris came in and has really turned it into what it is now, which is just her and Kevin. I'll give him credit. He does the Medicare side and turned it into this huge thing over here in Sheboygan. Um, and very kind of cool. I was fighting against that a little bit. So I tried doing some insurance, but was doing the old door knocking and the buying of the leads and working with a lot of those things, going, yeah, look at all this money that they're promising. I'm going to show my sister and my mom, how this really works. And I'm going to really knock it out of the park. And it didn't take me long. I'm relatively intelligent. It was probably about a month where I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And I did it for about 3. Um, but man, it's great when you get people that I'm like, hey, I'm selling this whole life plan or accident policy. And I found them a great one with Mutual of Omaha. And I go to my uplink and I say, all right, I got to sell a mutual. How do I get contracted? And they go, yeah, I don't know. What? Um, yeah, brag about all the money you want, but you can't actually help anybody. They just basically 5, 10 years ago, they filled out some with Mutual of Omaha and had no help. Didn't know how to help me, didn't know how to get me where I was going. Great at setting up rah-rah speeches once a week. We would get a little phone call with the whole group and, hey, look at me and what I sold. And we're talking with people around the country. And there are some people that can do that. I am not one of those people. Not bashing on those people, but one of the things I really do love about the way they set up Next Step and everything else, we don't have leads. We don't buy leads. We don't cold call. We don't really knock doors. We do a little bit for our businesses, which is just huge right now. Our small businesses is just growing leaps and bounds. But that's a lot of word of mouth. So I did learn some things from that, but really also learned, yeah, that really was not for me. I don't want to 100% pick on that company, but I will. Just not very good leadership with it. And then came over to Next Step and was like, all right, I'm working with with Chris. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, I've got some mentorship. I've got some leadership here, and you can walk down there, and that is still one of the nice things. And I know I'll talk about it. John talks about it. Um, Even when we go to other insurance meetings and even when we were down there talking with United, when they're like, hey, we're in Wisconsin, these are the plans. It's very cool that I've been doing this for 4 years, have almost 1,000 some odd clients. And we've got people out there that have their own names on their trucks and they're selling insurance and they don't even really know what they're doing. they're asking United just the most weird questions, and we're looking around, and every single one of our assistants, Andrea, Sam, I would say our front desk with Wendy and Sarah, they know these questions. They know the answers to these questions and are just rattling them off. And you look over there, and here's a table of 5 people that have been doing insurance for 30 years and have basic questions. And I don't want to pick on people for having questions, but you're like, you've been doing this for 10 years. How did I get where I was? And part of that really is when some of you are out there thinking about starting your own mentorships and everything else, it really has been a lot of full credit to my sister. It has been very nice that she is able to come along, and she does know the whole life, the terms, the health plans. And we do have a connection with the insurance companies, as well as the businesses around here. I'm going to steal it from John. He was just doing a meeting this morning, and you go around to people and you go, "Hey, who's sent people to Next Step Insurance?" And everybody in the networking group of one goes, "Oh yeah, we send people there." Um, Part of that is it's very cool. We have, do we need to call? Do we need leads? Do we need those other things? I am packed as much as I want to be. I will do anywhere from 10 to 40 appointments a week. It is very nice. And I'm starting, I've been here for 3 years and I'm over 900 clients. So a little bit of my background on that one was just really able to come in and really came from the restaurant industry. Nothing crazy. I didn't study insurance. Insurance kind of, the bad connotations with it and those other things. And then I had my own accident and led to amputations and blood clots and everything else. So I've got a prosthetic. I know what max out of pocket is like. And that gave me, as a 40-year-old male that never really went to the doctor, we've all met with them. It does give me a little bit of a connection with a lot of my 60-year-old clients that know what max out of pocket is like. And how can we work best to get you the right things? Do we need an accident policy? Do we need some of these other little things? And it has been very nice coming from where I was working with Symmetry Insurance, where they kind of had the little rah-rah speeches. One of the very cool things that Chris has been able to do by just meeting people, if anybody's starting their own little small businesses and wants to get this going, man, everybody's here willing to help. I found that out when we go to the Manhattan things and the Philadelphia and everything else. So we do have every once in a while, we get a little bit of those meetings, but we've got the right people like, hey, I want to look at layering some things. Well, let's go to the queen of layering. And, she will gladly talk with you. Everybody that normally tends to be on these podcasts or these Zooms, what have you, they're willing to help. And you don't have to go through those. I'm going to buy leads for $50 and I can't afford it because I'm only making 20 grand a year. And then I'm buying penny leads and doing all of those other things. Very nice. A lot of these people are very much willing to help. And I've been able to get there and go from 0 clients to over 900 clients. And it is going to be my 3rd year anniversary. So I'm starting year 4 in a month. Honestly, I think it's March 17th. So, a month and 2 days. So very kind of nice. A little bit of my background, how I got where I am. I'm good at numbers and I'm actually relatively shy. I'd much rather stare at my shoes than look you in the eye. But bartending really did kind of help me get through that. So I like being able to talk to people. And when they come here to talk to me, it really does kind of help some things. But that's a little bit of my background. And then because Chris is my sister and knows a lot more about some of those other little things, I took it on myself to start learning some of the things she didn't care about. So dental, vision, some of those things add a little bit more to the team. I hate dental insurance. It is such a pain in the butt. Pays horrible, but it is one of those things. Well, hey, let's add 3 policies to somebody and then we're going to have them 95% of the time until they hit Medicare. And then beyond. That is one of the cool things about our Medicare team. We are able to take what we've done from 40 to 65-year-olds and then do a good job for them. And then, hey, I'm getting into Medicare. Somebody came to my door. No. I'm going to go to Next Step Insurance because we've just got a really good name. And did that just by working hard for our clients. Doing the right thing is also very important, and just being really honest with our clients. But little bit of my background. John, you want to tell yours?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'm still, you could call me the new guy here for the time being. I've been with Next Step for going on 2 years. It's going to be 2 years relatively soon. I did have my second open enrollment that we just finished up here, and I'm still alive, so that's good. Um, I have a little bit of a different background, but also very similar. Surprisingly enough, I also came a little bit from the restaurant industry. So I guess if you're looking for new upcoming agents, find your local restaurants and go to work. So I was doing a restaurant, and then I had a friend that he was down in Florida, and he's like, "Hey, get your license, come on down. We're selling insurance down in Florida, and it's a great opportunity for you. There's a lot of money to be made in this. You know, I make X, Y, and Z, and I'm promising the sun, the moon, and the stars." And of course, you know, you hear those numbers, and you're like, "This sounds fantastic. I'm gonna go on down to Florida." So I did. I packed up my entire life, threw it in a car, and went down to Florida. And I get to find out that if you put your information in online and you give them your phone number and name and all that stuff, that they will sell your information and they will sell it to everyone. And I was working for a company that bought those. And it wasn't one of those good insurance companies. They were doing some less than reputable stuff, but they were hiring people that had no idea what they were selling, and they were just handing them a script and trying to get as many of these as possible. And I can see that some of you are well aware that these places exist and that they shouldn't. Um, and it didn't take long. I was maybe, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks before I started. You know, you have downtime, you start looking into the products, and you're like, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. And then you had that moment where you're like, I don't think I'm one of the good guys right now. So um at that point I went to the manager and I was like, hey, what's going on with this? What is this max out of pocket? All that kind of stuff. And I was told in long and the short, stop learning and start selling. And I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do. I started having trouble sleeping at night. And so I was like, it's time to, like, I know I have maybe $1 to my name right now. I just spent so much coming down here. It's time to turn around and go back up. So the first thing I did was, well, first I packed up and I went up to Wisconsin. But I called Chris. I knew Chris from when I was in the networking groups. That's another reason why networking groups are fantastic. You never know what's going to happen later on down the road. But I met Chris through the networking group, and I shot her an email and I was like, hey, would it be possible for us to meet up, just have some questions? And my thought process was, I'm just going to pick her brain and see what she thinks I should do. You know, someone just starting in the industry, what should I do to get my feet wet in health insurance, and at the same time, uh you know, just really um get into the field while able to sleep soundly and doing best by the customer. And she said, well, come on in for an interview, let's talk. And it was more than I expected. And I went in, and when we talked, we found out that, you know, what I was missing down in Florida was exactly the core values that Next Step holds and is trying to put out into the insurance world. And it was just a really good fit. And I couldn't be happier being in an agency. Some of the benefits to working in an agency that I've firsthand seen is you get the opportunity to ask questions. That is the biggest thing. You know, if you're doing this on your own, there's a reason why people struggle a bit, because I don't know when you're starting out and learning. It's tough. Obviously, everyone has to start somewhere, but the luxury I had was my office was all the way down the hall from Chris, and I had about 5 or 6 different doors that I could knock on my way down to Chris. And so I would just go down, and first open door, I'd be like, hey, I have a question. Hey, I have a question. Hey, I have a question. And I'm sure that Josh and Sam and even Andrea are like, God, this guy's asking all the questions all the time. but it's really what you have to do. And I can say safely that I probably fast forward, and I've told this to Josh, I've probably fast forwarded my career at least 5 years, maybe more, just by working in an agency. Because I have the ability to tap so many years of experience and so many different backgrounds and just be able to ask the questions. It really does afford you the luxury of speeding things up. And then, like Josh mentioned, not having to sit there on the phone and call people up and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about the good news of Common Ground, or the good news of Anthem, well, whatever it might be. I didn't have to pick up the phone and just start cold calling. There was none of that. Being able to have the meetings, and like Josh said, it's anywhere from 10 to 40, and that is even midsummer. So it really is a benefit to have that lead source be from word of mouth. So that's a little bit about my background and how I got here. The benefit that I bring is just a different perspective. I'm able to kind of talk to those people that did enter their information online and be like, hey, I get it. That is what they do. They're able to do these kind of predatory things. And I'm not looking down on you for signing up for that, but let's get you out of that and into something that makes sense. I have a different background, having been in the military and having done all kinds of different jobs from then until now. So I'm able to kind of relate to the clients at those levels. So that's what I've got. Andrea, is Andrea here?
She is.
Andrea, I'm done. It's your turn.
It was one of the nice things, whether it was multiple questions or whatnot. But you had said it with there, and I had the same kind of thing. It was like, should I be doing this, or you have some questions? And it was like, yeah, don't dive into too deep into what we're doing here, man. And that has just never come out of anybody at Next Step. Like, oh, all right, how can we help on this? And I know plenty of people that work alone, and they do plenty of fine jobs on it. I do love, and part of it is me, and it's my personality with it. I love having that team there. I really do. It is very nice. Andrea is trying to unmute, and then like Sam, she's out today. She's with her daughter. Had a sick day. Oh, great. Well, beauty is we've got the whole team here to kind of back everybody up. It is one of the nice things that they did kind of build here. Yeah, you're not going to make $200,000 like some of those insurance companies are promising you in the first 6 months. But I'm also not out there trying to cold call and knock doors. And yeah, I've worked with enough of those things. I did property and casualty where we went around and chased storms. I was one of those hail chasers. And you hire 100 people and you're hoping 4 of them fit. We just really haven't gone through that. We really do kind of take people on, mentor them up, and get everybody kind of set up as best as we can. It is one of the nice things. Never thought I needed it. And then all of a sudden, when you don't have it and then you do, you're like, oh, this is amazing. I'm not trying to mess over people. I'm not lying through my teeth. Oh, this plan does this and this, because I didn't know, because nobody was mentoring me or telling me or teaching me what these plans actually did. So it is one of the nice things here. Andrea, are you there, hon?
I think I got it undone.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yep. Okay. Well, so I didn't prepare things, but I came here about 3 years ago. Before that, I had been doing 2 part-time jobs for 6 or 7 years. I was a library aide and a paraprofessional at the middle school in the area. So I worked with kids, and I was kind of in the background a lot, and I really enjoyed both of my jobs. But at the time, neither job really offered full-time, and I just want I really enjoyed working with kids, and I really liked being at the library because I read a lot. I still do. But neither job really offered full-time, so I was looking for something that offered full-time, and I just happened to see this ad posting for an assistant, at Next Step Insurance, or and it just so happens that I had gotten my insurance through Next Step Insurance when I had turned 26, when I couldn't be on my parents' insurance anymore. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool if I worked at the insurance company where I get my insurance. So I had applied, and I had gotten the position, and I knew nothing about insurance. The closest I had come to insurance was my mom working as a underwriter at a really large insurance conglomerate all of her life. Otherwise, I knew nothing about insurance. But the nice thing about this company was it was a learning type facility. So everything you did was, hey, I have a question. Hey, I have a question. Can you help me with that? Yeah, sure. Here, let me show you how to do it. Hey, I forgot how to do this. Can you show me how to do it again? So it's a constant, hey, can you show me how to do this? Hey, I have a question. And it's a constant, I'm going to learn, and it not afraid to ask questions. And it's amazing what you can learn when you're able to ask questions and it's not frowned upon to be asking those questions. So, and in my position, I'm not an agent. Actually, I did become an agent. I got my license for life and health. Gosh, was it last year? Over a year ago now. So I do have my life and health, and I help the guys out the best I can. Mostly I'm in the background. I do policy entry, clean up notes, do client service stuff when the guys are in appointments. So I answer questions when I can. Um, I'm not very much into sales. I don't like talking to people and trying selling them something. That's not something I like doing, and I'm fine doing what I'm doing. The guys can do the selling. I'm fine with that. I'm happy where I'm at, where I can help them, help the clients where they can, where they need it, and then they're on their way. But if it's more in depth, hey guys, this is a tougher question. Here you go. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I like being in my teeny tiny little closet of an office where I can just do my own work, file papers. I know that sounds silly to maybe some people that really like doing the sales stuff, but I like doing the paperwork, filing. Never thought I'd say that, but I like being in the background. I don't like being the front runner. But I like supporting the guys the best I can and being there when they need the help. So yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years or almost 3 years. Yeah, I do miss working at both the library and the school. Sometimes the school a little bit less because kids are a little mean. But I like doing what I am doing now as well. Yeah, that's all I got, Josh.
Word. And one of the things that we've had a couple chats with different people in different groups. Sometimes it is a little bit, how did how did Next Step, how did it end up building? How did we get to being able to not have to cold call, not have to do a lot of these things? And we brought up networking. John did, I did. One of the things that I will say, a couple things, very cool stories with, I'm not a big network person. I like to be shy. I like to sit in my little office. I'm not really one that wants to go out and hand out people my cards and do those other fun little things. My goodness. Chris, or whether she wants to brag about it or not, was in a networking group, she's doing her thing, and then all of a sudden she's obviously much more outgoing. She's got her purple hair and she's fun, and it led to this guy, who led to this lady, who led to, oh, here's somebody in North Carolina that does not like their agent, trust Chris, we're in the person who sent him there. And so she reaches out and she's very honest with everything, and he went, great, let's do this. Oh my goodness, they're looking at about, I think it was like 100 some odd employees. Boom. That, great. Now we're selling life insurance, not life, but we're selling the ancillaries. We're doing these other little things with this company. And that's sometimes the long game. The way Next Step started was actually when it was called Insurance Solutions. my mom started it, and to her credit, she started doing Medicare. Before Medicare, she was involved. She was an ombudsman. She helped older people in nursing homes. She was in aging and disability. So she knew the background of it a little bit. Then she got into Medicare and was just, I know she's my mom, but very nice, very intelligent, but also honest. And she ran into the right person at the exact right time. She was teaching a Medicare class. And whether you know our area of Sheboygan or not, there is a big company out here called Kohler. Toilets, faucets, showers, all those other fun little things. And she had this random guy come up to her at the end of the class, and he really grilled her. And he was kind of giving it to her because he'd met other Medicare people before, and they were a little bit swarmy, if you will. They were trying to sell them stuff and why theirs was weird, and they didn't know all the answers. They were trying to sell things and they weren't educated on it. My mom was. So he sat down and she's like, who is this guy? And really wants to know everything. And turns out he was checking her out. He ran the union of Kohler Company. Boom. One right meeting at the right time, being 100% honest. And sometimes being honest is saying you don't need this. And it might hurt my pocketbook, might have hurt my mom's at first, but she wasn't trying to do something bad. She was being honest with the guy, and then all of a sudden it was, man, we're getting these Kohler people, and then it turns out, hey, we had the lead union rep guy is now sending everybody to Next Step Insurance. So now we have this tens of thousands of employees company that all of a sudden we're just spread. They can go wherever they want for Affordable Care Act and Medicare and everything else. When they call up, and I'll tell her name now, their lead union rep now, lady, is Penny. She is 100% business. And when people come in and go, hey, I need help with this or that, and she goes, you need to go over to Next Step. And then that's spread out, kind of like when I was knocking on doors and they would teach you, hey, tell them your neighbor, is in it. Tell them you got this business. Sometimes it makes people a little bit, ooh, why is Kohler doing this? And then all of a sudden we got Johnsonville Brats. All right, that's around here. And a lot of these companies kind of do it. And then all of a sudden it's their family members. I honestly had 3 meetings yesterday where it was, my brother-in-law came here. I've been trying to do this myself for years. And I've been in bad plans. Yeah, just come in and sit down with us. It's okay. And that word of mouth and is just, man, it's fantastic. But it was built by being honest and being educated. And it's 2 of our principles on it of Next Step Insurance. When my mom retired and she sold it to Chris and they changed the name, is just being honest with people. Sometimes that's saying, I don't know. I'm going to find out the answer. And the beauty of having Chris there, and why I try very hard not to look down on sometimes people that have been doing it for a couple of years and just don't know things, where I'm like, how do you not know that, you idiot? Oh, because I did have a mentor and maybe they were kind of left out there on the island. John and I still remember the guy down in Texas that was sitting at the same table with us at the conference. We're like, this poor guy has been here trying to do this for 2 years and he's got 75 clients. How do you make a living? And he had a lot of questions, but it was, this guy's kind of left out on an island. He's by himself. He doesn't have the background of being able to ask anybody. He's just doing it from his home, trying to cold call people, and didn't quite know anything. And so we're like, hey, you've got questions, call me. I'm willing to help you in any way I can. I don't know all of Texas policies, but I get it, so that is one of the very nice things that Next Step has brought. And I know Chris was kind of talking about, there are some people on here that are looking at maybe taking their individual things and kind of moving it out there into a small company. It didn't start easy. What's kind of fun for me is, being my mom started and then my sister did it, the building we're in now, they had to sucker Gary into, we're gonna rent this office building, or not building, sorry, this office space for like $200 a month. We just want a brick and mortar. We're in Sheboygan County. It's still very blue collar. People like to see people. And it was, honestly, my mom would have to have meetings in the kitchen area because it was just one room and a kitchen. And while Paulette was meeting with one person, it was like, I'm meeting with so-and-so. Why don't you go meet in the kitchen? And oh my goodness. And I'm like, this just isn't gonna work, Mom. A little naysayer. I was a jerk. Like, come on, Mom, this isn't gonna work. And moving in old desks that we borrowed from somebody, or hey, somebody was throwing something out. So it really was, hey, we can afford $200 a month between her and Paulette. And then all of a sudden it was, hey, Gary, do you got any bigger office spaces? And then they moved to another one. And then they moved to another one. And then my sister took over and went, we need to make this a little bit bigger. Let's do some other things. And she's talked about that and what have you. And then boom, we moved up and we took over the entire second floor. We now probably have 15 offices up here. And then we bought the building. And so now all of a sudden we've got the entire building that we've got. It's not huge, but we've got 3 floors. We now rent out to other small businesses that are trying to start some things off. But we went in the last 10 years from a 1-room office with my mom and Paulette kind of doing anything, and meeting in kitchens and sharing a bathroom out in the hallway with the other small businesses, to now the building is actually ours. It's next step. So that is very cool. And that has happened over the course of 10 years. Mom is now retired. Paulette is now retired. It's now Kevin and Chris's, and they have turned it into this very cool thing. And now we're just advancing. We're getting a little bit bigger and bigger because that need for insurance it's not going away. We have a lot of Badger care. That's what we call our Medicare up here, or Medicaid. People coming off, and people are always retiring, those boomers. So as much as I've hit certain client levels and I'm trying to get involved in some different things, we need more people. The demand is out there, and it's very cool. But that's a little bit, just in 10 years, going from a 1-room office to now having that building. And it was really done by the core values. And part of that's just being honest and being knowledgeable. If you make mistakes, you got to own it. So it is very nice having that team. But anybody have any questions? Anything? Because I think we've answered a couple in the old chat, but if anybody wanted to unmute themselves, that would be perfectly fine.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So you were just kind of telling the story of going from small to, I'm a 1-person dude. I got a small brick and mortar. I got a small little office. But it's getting kind of busy, and I want to try to grow. Can you speak into that? Like, how did you guys do that? Or if there's anybody on here that has successfully done that, like, what are the steps? What are the milestones you need to make? What's like, I don't know. I've never done this. I came from a restaurant as well. I was a teacher as well. So I really relate with all you guys. I've been doing this for like 4 years, but 2 on my own. I don't know, just maybe just speak into that a little bit. I would appreciate it. Even, anyway, I'll let you talk.
No, well, and some of it, part of the thing that we like to brag about, is we don't have to do the cold calls kind of thing. Because, well, John came from it, I came from it, it is hard, but I do know people that have, that's their outreach. Part of the thing that I know got a little bit from the insurance solutions over to Next Step was doing things like classes. And that was where my mom ended up ultimately meeting the Kohler guy, was, hey, we're going to teach some classes just because insurance is scary for some people. We do it for a living, and now it's not scary at all. But when people come down and sit at my desk, it does scare them because they're used to being able to go, I want plan A that's offered at work. Well, I'm a little bit healthier. I want plan B. Done. And so they started kind of teaching some classes, and just put them out there in flyers, a little bit of a, Sheboygan's 50,000 with all the little suburbs, everything else, but just kind of putting that out there, flyers, doing a little bit of those things, spending a little bit of money that they had. My family is not rich. My mom was scraping by trying to do that, and putting little flyers out there, and hey, we're going to teach Medicare classes. And it did start slow. There were times when 3 people showed up. Okay. And then 5 people, and then back to 3, and then 10, and then you're teaching a class of 15, and you got the Kohler rep guy, the Kohler union rep. So some of those things really did start. Now we give him a lot of credit. If I ever run into him, I'll pay for his entire meal at the restaurant. I mean, he really did kind of help us out a lot. But even without our Kohler people, and we've got some stuff on there, we're still doing fantastic. But it did start a little bit organically of just doing a little bit of classes, getting your name out there a little bit. I know that there's some things, I think it was with, well, I don't know then, Manhattan, where it was like, hey, let's meet at Walmart, and you could set up a table and those kind of things. That has helped. And I've seen a couple of those people on Facebook that are like, hey, we met 15 people today. Awesome. So a little bit of that kind of led to, hey, we're doing some classes, leads to some people. And the beauty of kind of where we are sometimes is, man, word of mouth is great. Hey, who sent you here? Well, we were sitting around the fire having a beer, yeah, drinking, having a beer, and we're talking Medicare. And they're like, I don't think my person knows anything. You need to go see Dorcas over at Next Step Insurance, and go see her. She's going to do it. And then they come in, sit down, and part of my own selling, whether it's John, Chris's, anybody else, is to not scare people with it. Kind of just give them a little bit of peace of mind, like, hey, we're here. And it's not just me picking up the phone. I got 3 kids and a wife. I'm not always going to be here. I've got Andrea. I've got Sam, who's home with her own kid. I've got John. I've got Chris. We've got that background. So it's a little bit of the peace of mind. And that just spread. It really did. I don't know if Chris has any phenomenal thing for the smaller things. Yes, her building it huger for the small businesses did start one business at a time. And it was, hey, we've got Waldo Auto Works, what have you. They're not a real company. I'm not giving information I shouldn't. But we get that one auto dealership, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit of mechanics talk, diesel mechanics. Holy crap. I have probably 10 to 15 diesel mechanics as my clients, because one was working with it, and boom, he ended up talking to the other guy. So it led to one small business, and now I don't want to brag on Chris's small businesses, but it is very large. And now people come to her and go, hey, I'm employing 20 people and we're getting bigger, and I don't want to just blindly jump in and sign up with such and such. And so she spends the time, spends the effort. Whereas if you talk to the wrong person, could be right person, and they're going to sell you plan A. That's what they sell. Whereas our company goes, here's plan A, B, C, D, and E. Let's figure it out to the right person. What are you willing to spend? Do we need accidents? Do we need some other things? You're employing a bunch of mechanics. Maybe an accident policy is not a bad thing. You drop that tire, slice your hand open. Okay, let's add those little things. And so that's really helped. John?
So yeah, just kind of go off of what Josh was saying a little bit. It's kind of a good thing that you have that education background, because one thing that I'd say is really important is these networking events, or these networking things that we do. And even when you're just having your appointments, educating the client, educating the people, that is the most important thing. Because I mean, yes, Next Step does have a reputation. They have a very good reputation. And people just, when I was in that networking, like Josh said, who's referred someone to Next Step? Everybody but one raises their hand. And yet at the same time, when I would go over it, they kind of learned something from when I had my presentation. And that's because you can refer someone, but what's even more important is having that knowledge as to, this is why we refer them, because they know what they're talking about, because I understand my insurance better now than before I set foot in that door. So one of the most important things that we do, and I can speak on Josh's behalf on that, is we make sure that our clients are well educated on how their insurance works, as well as finding the best policy for them. So I'd say the education, that is, I will say it again and again, educate, like making sure that they know what they're doing or what they're getting, and what they're looking at. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Josh, you're muted.
I'm not good with technology. Yeah, Scott. So, I don't know if that helped, with some of it, but some of that was just educating people, kind of teaching the classes a little bit. And it didn't happen overnight. It was year 2. I think we can keep it going. Year 3, hey, there's some money to be made here. Year 4, all right. And then by year 5, all of a sudden we're doing well. And now my mom's 72, Paulette, I don't know, she's close to 65. Hey, let's pass this on. And that's when Chris and Kevin came on. A little bit of, I'd call them younger. I would never say young to my sister, but younger ideas at 50 than at 70. And so, hey, let's mainstream this a little bit. And now we're doing text and some of these other little things. And it is really watching my mom struggle and bragging at 50 clients for Medicare. And then Kevin right now, he's the other owner, Medicare agents. He's well into 1,500. And he joined 5 years ago, 5, 6, so he's just been able to take what we've been able to do and just ran with it. Some of my thing, and I remember one of my my networking groups was not, it's not always starting I'm not going to have the idea for Uber. I'm not going to have the idea for YouTube. What I'm able to do is take things that somebody else has kind of put in there, and make it better. Make it my own, take my stuff from restaurant industries. I ran multi-million-dollar restaurants. I've got some knowledge there, and kind of take it and go, okay, this is what I've learned and implement. Of course, I run it by the bosses. But then it's like, oh, this is a great idea. So that was one of the things that bringing on new people I've always kind of liked is, yeah, they're not always right, but sometimes they've got good ideas. John's had some, few, but kind of move things and make everything a little bit better. And that is one of the nice things that Chris has always been very open to, is, all right, I'm not perfect. Sometimes we've got to learn some of these things along the way. I've had a few of those questions already from United Healthcare. Why would you even offer this plan? It's brand new. It's only a month and a half old. I'm sorry. We had to learn along with that as well, but no, that was one. And somebody mentioned, I think, John in there, was talking about an auto mechanic place. And the reason I brought it up, I had one auto mechanic, and I don't have a small business, but I got him, did right by him. It really saved him a lot of money. And then all of a sudden it was just that word of mouth. Holy cow, this auto mechanic place only employs 10 people. They don't offer insurance. We're all in our 50s and 60s and need something that's good. It's shocking how many people walk into my office and go, yeah, my boss bought me this insurance. Is this any good? Minimal essential coverage. No, this plan is horrible. One of the guys that I met through my networking group, he sells property and casualty, not health. His boss signed him his now Social Security disability approved wife at the age of 45. So she uses her insurance, signed her up for some policy out of Texas that had 500 pages of what they're going to cover. And I looked at him and went, you realize the word insurance is never actually on any of this? What? You're paying $700 a month. He sat down with me. I got his wife coverage for her medications, coverage for these other little things. And they were paying $350 a month. Like, why were you paying $700? Well, we just thought it was going to cost $1,500. Well, it doesn't. It costs $350, and you're in the exact same plan I put myself, who I'm a max out-of-pocket person, my wife and my kids in. This is the plan. And they didn't know any better, but they thought they did. Yeah. So some of that is, hey, this mechanic saved a lot, and now I've got his coworker. Now I've got his other coworker. Now I've got, somebody's wife who knows somebody who got their thing done there, and they run a dog washing business. Awesome. I love self-employed people. Can figure out the right things for them. But yeah, that is part of the way that we grew. And that was just being right by people and being honest. Really, Chris can say that it's 500 other things. That was honestly, I think, the two things: doing right by people, being honest, and being educated on what you're selling. And that was something I was certainly lacking when I was going into restaurants or going into small businesses and going, what you guys need to do is buy this accident policy. Well, what does it all do? I don't know, but you certainly need it because 1 in every 3 Americans is going to have an accident sometime in their life. I knew the sell, but I didn't even know what I was selling. So unless somebody really went, yeah, I need an accident policy and I was thinking about getting one, and you happen to walk in, I was not going to be the guy. And I did not, kind of like John was saying, I didn't sleep well. I didn't like doing that. And as much as I wanted to be more educated, man, they were, don't ask questions, just go sell them. Tell them they need it. Scare them into it. Well, okay. I understand we need accident policies, we need critical illness policies, but if you don't know what you're selling, probably not going to be a good salesman on it. You're not going to be a good insurance agent and probably not be able to help your clients the best. I certainly don't know everything about every policy, but that's why I got Andrea. She knows everything about everything. Getting on to be about 50 minutes. I know we're about a minute late, but I've got another appointment at 11 o'clock unless anybody's got some other questions. Chris should be back and we'll get more into her little side projects and everything else, and ancillaries and everything else next week. But if everybody's okay, have a good week. Anybody, any other questions? All right. So everybody have a good week. Got any questions? Please reach out, email Chris. We'll all be glad to help. And then we'll see you guys all next Thursday.